Everyone, this is George, your neighborhood realtor, and I'm here with Ahmed. Amin. He is the owner and sole operator of Outlet Home Inspections. Ahmed, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate your time, and I'm looking forward for with everything that you're sharing today with us.
Thank you, George, for having me. I'll do a short introduction. My name is Ahmed Amin. I'm the owner and operator of Outlet Home Inspections, as you said. I've been a home inspector now for a little over 3 years. I also simultaneously have an engineering background. I am a licensed professional engineer, civil engineer. That's what I went to school for. And that's why I became a home inspector. I've always loved real estate, and it was a very easy transition for me to become a home inspector. And that's where I started Outlet Home Inspections.
Right. So you have a sample for us, a sample inspection report, which is great. And what I want to gear this conversation or this presentation towards is for someone looking to purchase a house for the first time, or not even necessarily for the first time, maybe it's a seasoned investor. Why is getting a home inspection so important? What you should look out for? The expectations of a client or someone looking to purchase a house. What should their expectations be with you as far as what you can and cannot recommend? So I know you have the presentation ready for us, and whenever you're ready, you can start. And I'm excited. I'm excited because getting home inspection, in my opinion, is extremely important. And I think down the long run, you can save yourself tens of thousands of dollars if you do a proper home inspection, get the proper guidance, and you'll be, one step closer to purchasing your next home. So yeah, without further ado, Ahmed, whenever you're ready, we can get started.
Sure. I mean, you hit it right, the nail right in the head. A home inspection is extremely important. Homes are very big investments. You definitely want to get an idea of the overall condition, what the deficiencies are, how you could start budgeting to make some of these repairs. And the home inspection is a two-part inspection. Obviously, it's the walkthrough where we point out all the deficiencies. And then another major part is the home inspection report, which I'm going to share my screen and go over one with you right now. Do you see the report?
I do.
Okay, great. I'm going to put it in full screen mode. I'm not going to go over every detail, but I'm going to skim through it. In case I did go too fast, please let me know. So basically, a home inspection, like I said, is a general overview of what to expect, what you're getting yourself into. So the first page is typically the table of contents. It gives you an idea of what the report is going to include. The grounds, the exterior, the roofing, the heating and air, electrical, plumbing, interiors, kitchen, bathrooms, basement, garage, and laundry, and the foundation. These are the major parts, and this is what is typically included within a home inspection report. We'll jump right into the grounds. Basically, it's the full perimeter of the house, the grading, it's the driveway, the sidewalk. If you have any retaining walls, the downspouts, if the downspouts are dumping water right next to your home, that's a big part. Typically, I usually make that recommendation. If you have leaning retaining walls, as you see here, or if you have tripping hazards in your sidewalk, we'll point out all these things. I try to attach figures, as you could see over here, to help people visualize why the damage has occurred. So you'll see some figures as I go through some of this report, wherever it's applicable, of course. The exterior is a really big part. The overall stairwells, the exterior wall, the windows, the doors. I mean, do you have guardrails? There's so many different details that we have to look at. Deficiencies, if there's any safety issues, like for example, in this picture, the guardrails. This is considered a safety issue, especially if you have little ones. You don't want them falling or jumping off. The wood decks, are they tightly secured? Are they installed properly? These are very important aspects of the home inspection. Do you have penetration in your exterior walls, the type of siding? Do you have wood rot? We look at the exterior windows, wherever we could visibly and easily access it, of course. And then the chimney, this was a very deficient chimney in this example that I observed. I like to pinpoint and list all the issues that I notice. I give a little bit more meat in the reports wherever I can. I probably get into trouble a little bit. I should probably just say it's a deferred chimney and go to the chimney or mason contractor. But I like to explain to people why it's a deficient chimney. If there's no rain cap, is it leaning? Is it covered with tar? This was a really poor chimney that I found during the home inspection. Roofing. As we all know, roofs are a very big part of the home inspection process. So basically, the overall condition of the roof. Roofs tend to be very hard to access. I will walk a flat roof if I could safely access it. Sometimes there are no hatches where I could get up. I utilize a drone, as you know, George. You've probably seen so many times I use the drone to get very close to the roof, basically, and to see if there's any damage or moisture issues. George, you're still there, right?
Still here, still here. I'm retaining all this good information, so I'm as quiet as
Just
possible.
making sure that it get cut off. Okay. So yeah, we look at the roof components. The big part of a roof is how moisture is going to get into the house. Nobody wants a leaking roof. So a lot of people definitely want the roof inspected. The gutters and downspouts is very important. You don't want water puddling, as you see here. The stormwater drains, you don't want them to be old and cracked, leaking water on your brick right here. Again, a home inspection is the biggest part of a home inspection is how moisture is going to get in to damage the roof. That's very important that you see that and understand that. So if you keep the water out of the house will practically live forever. Skylights is another big part. Almost all skylights leak over time. Definitely want to get those inspected. And then the attic portion. The roof is a two-part inspection. It's the exterior layer, and then it's the attic part. We pop our heads in the attic wherever we could visibly access it or go into it. We definitely don't want to see moisture stains in there. We want to see that it's insulated, ventilated. So the roof is a two-part inspection. The heating and the air, that's a very big part. Heating is a very important part. Whether it's a boiler, a furnace, hot water boiler, steam boiler, electric heat, you definitely want that operating. We live in New Jersey. Obviously, it could get very cold in the winter. We have all four seasons. And then air conditioning, whether you have central air or window AC units. The central air portion, you definitely want to inspect that. Window AC units, no home inspectors inspect that, but they're relatively inexpensive, and they usually don't come with the house either way anyway. Electrical is very important. There's a lot of old homes in North Jersey, whether it's Jersey City, Bayonne. The condition of the wires, we want to get underneath the panels. Do you have enough power coming into the home? Do you have like the spider web of wiring, cloth wiring, where it's just very dangerous and it's all spliced and taped together? We definitely look at all these things. Do you have fuses? Do you have breakers? Do you have knob and tube electric? Plumbing is another big part. Do you have a lead water line coming in? What kind of piping do you have coming in? Is it copper? Is it plastic? Are there any leaks of any sort where we could visibly and access and see, of course? The sewer line, basically. The sewer, you don't want a cracked sewer line, or you don't want a deficient sewer line. You don't want to flush the toilet one day and end up with a big surprise in the basement. So that's a very big part of your home inspection. Is it duct taped, as you see in this picture, or is it painted to cover up all the cracks and rust? These are all aspects that we see. The hot water heater, you definitely need hot water for showers and just to wash your hands or sink fixtures, laundry. So the condition of the water heater, is it very old? Is it rusted? The connections, all this is included. with the interiors, the overall condition of the walls. You have moisture stains. We'll use moisture meters to try to identify if there's any active leaks. Walls, again, floors, we'll look at all that stuff. And the overall electrical condition. Again, we test a lot of these outlets to see if the wiring is done correctly. Can we identify old wiring with no grounding? Are there missing covers? I mean, there's so many different things that we'll see. Unfortunately, we can't look at the wiring behind it, so we use these testers to kind of give us an idea of the overall condition of the electrical going through all your home. Do you have enough outlets? That's another thing that we need to see. Ceiling fans, fireplaces. You definitely don't want this ceiling fan right here, because if this falls on your head, you might end up in the hospital. The fireplace, we definitely want to look at the overall condition of that. The kitchen, everybody loves to cook, right? So the kitchen, the plumbing connections, the appliances, the bathrooms, these are all important aspects of the home inspection. The basement. So the basement could be a little tricky. When the basement is unfinished, it's a lot easier for me to inspect the structure, the overall condition of it. But a lot of times now, we find finished basements, George, as you probably see during when you're showing people homes. That's a really big part in getting value, I guess, when you're selling a home.
Right.
So it gets a little tricky there, because if a basement's finished, it could be very difficult for us to identify issues. But sometimes you find unfinished basements, and then it gets a little easier. So we'll look at everything that we could see, the garage, the laundry units, and then the foundation. The foundation tends to scare a lot of people. A lot of people, one of the first things they always tell me, hey, is the foundation okay? Is this good? Is this house, does this house have good bones, as they like to say it? Are there cracks? Is there moisture coming in? So when the basement is unfinished, it gets a little easier for me to obviously identify the overall condition of the foundation walls. And then the flooring support, the main beam, is it notched? Is it cut? Is there termite damage or wood destroying insect damage, as they like to call it? So these are all aspects that home inspectors try to identify wherever we can, especially if we're in a basement or in a crawl space. And that's pretty much it for a home inspection report. I know I spoke very fast, and I went very fast. But if you do want to see a copy of it, it's on my website. You could, right on the front face of my report, my website, you could hit sample inspection report and download it.
Do you have it? Do you want me to share the screen to your website, Ahmed, or no?
Sure. Yeah, we could do that really quick.
Yeah, so take your time. So yeah, you covered a lot, and it's great information. And what it seems like you mentioned is that you pretty much do a visual inspection of the home, right? So let's say if there's issues
Yes.
behind the walls or in the foundation, just so someone who's doing a home inspection for the first time can so you can kind of set those expectations. Do you break the
Mm-hmm.
walls? Do you go, do you have equipment to study and identify underlying issues within the foundation, within the walls, or no?
No, it's a non-intrusive inspection. We cannot break anything, because you got to understand, you don't own the house when you're doing a home inspection just yet. So even if you were anxious and excited to look what's behind the walls, we cannot do it. We have to respect the sellers. And it is a non-intrusive inspection. So there are some assumptions and disclaimers that are included with any type of home inspection.
Right. Okay. So, and I see here you have open your website. So if someone wants to contact you,
Yep.
they can contact you here, allahomeinspections.com.
Yep. You could click on the sample inspection report, or even my Google reviews, why choose me, pricing. I try to put everything I can. You click right on it. You could pretty much download the report I just went over, so you could get an idea of basically why hire me and what you're purchasing when you hire me.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Got it. And then, Ahmed, so once the client gets the report, what next? Like, can the client go to you? Does he go to his real estate attorney? Does he go to his real estate agent, he or she,
Mhm.
and ask, okay, this is the report. It's 30, 40 pages long. What do I do now? What are the costs of all these repairs? And I'm asking this so that, again, you can clarify those expectations of what your job role is as the home inspector, what you can and cannot do, or what you can and cannot offer
Mhm.
the client.
Well, once I send the report, I always tell people, please read through the report, review it. Let me know if you have any questions. Just because I send them the report, it's not like I say, hey, I'm never going to talk to you again. If you want some type of clarification, I'll definitely answer any questions or concerns. I can't get into costs because it wouldn't mean anything. Every contractor charges differently. It could be very seasonal, depending on how they recommend to repair an issue. It could be very costly. It could be very cheap. There's so many aspects that go into it. I'm not a licensed contractor, or electrician, or plumber, so it's better that you seek the help where you could get there. And then I also tell people, obviously, discuss this with your attorney, because your attorney is looking out for your best interest legally, and then your realtor. I mean, that's essentially what you guys get paid for. You're supporting your client, you're helping them understand the home inspection report, and from what I understand, you guys sometimes might make a list of things that you want the seller to address, or maybe you're even fighting for credit, or sometimes it's an as is deal, we see that, especially in our environment. So you have to sit there and decide, hey, is this really a big deal? Do I have to get this addressed right away? So there's so many different aspects, but the first step is to obviously review the report, discuss that with your loved one, and then also discuss it with your attorney and your realtor so you can have a game plan on how you want to move forward with the information you were provided.
Right. So we discussed everything interior and exterior of the house. I know there's a lot of questions as well as getting an oil tank sweep. Do you cover that? Is that a separate service? How does an oil tank sweep relate to a home inspection for someone doing it for the first time?
So I do not do oil tank sweeps. I know some home inspectors offer that service. I stay away from it for liability purposes. I never want to ever miss a oil tank because that is really a big deal. God forbid it's from an environmental issue if it's leaking, or whatever the case may be. If I see the old connections coming into the basement, I'll definitely note that to people, kind of in passing. But oil tank sweeps and oil tank inspections is not included in a home inspection report. But I'm never going to walk past oil tank connections and not point that out to the realtor or the buyer so they understand, hey, the house has been through oil. Maybe get some paperwork, go get the tank sweep to see if the tank was removed or if it wasn't removed.
Right. And I know receiving a 30, 40 page long report might be intimidating for someone buying a
Of
house for the
course.
first time. So let's say, for example, I'm buying a house. I see this report and I'm freaking out. I'm like, Ahmed, there's so many things wrong with this house. You pointed that
Mhm.
the door needs to be changed. There needs to be new light fixtures. The cabinets are crooked.
Yeah.
The home is pitched incorrectly. Um, and I feel very uncomfortable. I should just cancel this deal because this home looks like it's gonna fall apart at any time. What would you recommend someone buying a house for the first time? Like, is there major components, or are there like items that you would tell them, hey, listen, you know, I understand that you're buying a house for the first time. Um, let's look at this report holistically instead of, pinpointing everything that's wrong with the house. I mean, is there like certain items or certain aspects where you maybe
Hmm.
advise your client and let them know, hey, emphasize more of your energy on these items than others? Do you know what I mean?
I get what you mean. Because I know, like, especially with buyers, sometimes they have an unrealistic expectation. I try to, and I'm sure you realtors deal with it all the time. So I try to tell people, try not to get hung up on the little issues, not to be petty. You got to remember, like, I always give people this example. I'm like, the current home you're living in or the apartment you're renting in, are there issues that you feel like your landlord, or do you feel like there are issues that you need to address in your own apartment or current residence? And people would be like, yeah, I wish I did this, or I wish my landlord would do that. So I would tell people, I'm like, just like you have issues in your current residence, wherever you're living, you're gonna find that with the seller. I mean, there's always gonna be little issues. Granted, of course, there are some big issues. Like, obviously, if you have a hole in the roof, that's a really big issue. That's something you want to get addressed right away. I'm not uncomfortable to tell people, hey, this is something you want to get addressed right away. I'm very careful in saying that because at the same time, I don't want somebody to say, Ahmed said this is a really bad house, or I'm like, no, I told you the boiler is not working. You definitely want to get addressed. You want to address that because when you move in, it might be 20 degrees below zero. That doesn't mean the whole house is coming down. You know what I mean? So I'm very careful with how I tell people certain things. I tell people, listen, sit down with your loved one, review the report, have a discussion with your realtor and attorney. Don't just jump in conclusions. A lot of people like to get very emotional and defensive. Just stick to the facts and make up your mind in, is this the right home for you, or are you really set on having important parts addressed, or credit, or whatever the case may be. And then I get the very popular question, is this a good house? Would you buy this house? So I always throw it back at them. I purchased two homes that needed a lot of work. And I tell people, I'm like, listen, that's a very loaded question. I'm comfortable taking a lot more risk. So you asking me that question and me telling you it's a good house or a bad house means absolutely nothing. It just depends on your comfort zone. There's just so much that goes into it. Can you afford it? Do you have money in the bank? The interest rate, and that's where it probably gets very challenging for you realtors. I'm only there to tell them the facts. What are the conditions of the house? And I tell them, listen, take whatever I tell you with a grain of salt. Some of these things you don't have to do right away, but I'm giving you that information so you understand what you're going to need to address, whether it's right away or in the near future.
Right. And then from my understanding, a home inspector's job is to point out any deficiencies of a house.
Yes.
If he or she can't do that, then they're not doing their job. And what I always recommend my clients as well, Ahmed, I'm interested and curious to find out if you agree or not. But before that, I mean, I would assume even in a new construction home, I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure, bound to be deficiencies there because not
Yes.
everything's perfect. So again, even in a new construction home where everything's new, newly renovated kitchens, bathrooms, I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure a home inspector like yourself would pinpoint or find deficiencies. And what I like to address or advise my clients is that sort of like, piggybacking off of what you said, um, find out what's most important, right? Structurally, electrical, plumbing, roof. Is the house
Mm-hmm.
sound? Is it safe? And I think you have to also consider the client situation. Are they an investor? Are they okay with making the renovations? Or is it someone buying a house for the first time and they prefer something where they have to put in less work and invest less money in and move in right away? So I'm just curious to get your opinion on that. Like
Mm-hmm.
again, from my understanding, even in a new construction house, I'm sure as an
Yes.
inspector, it is your job to find a defect in a home.
Yeah, and unfortunately, home inspectors get a lot of bad reps because we're pretty much coming with a negative story to you. We're telling you all the problems. I try to point out sometimes good things when I do see them. It's just human nature. I'm not supposed to, but I'll be like, oh, hey, this is pretty good, or this looks like a brand new roof. I don't mind saying things like that if I could educatedly make that decision. So especially with new construction homes, I typically find a lot of punch list items. A lot of builders are trying to build homes very fast. They're on tight schedules. Sometimes I've even been into homes where not even the paint job is done yet. But it's very important to identify all these little things. So with new construction, it gets a little bit of a petty game, I call it, because it's like, hey, I'm buying this brand new, so I should get this brand new. There should be no issues. And I'm like, yeah, but people still make tiny little mistakes. There's a lot of intricate details, there's so many little different things or whatever. Like I have people that will be like, "Oh, I'm spending so much money on this, Ahmed. You know, look at the molding. I see that molding wasn't painted, or I see a little bit of a gap." And then sometimes I just like stare at people. I'm like, "You could just grab caulk and caulk that, man." Like, you know what I mean? But I have to kind of keep a very professional look to it, and just tell them, okay, this is cosmetic, because especially in new construction, there could be a lot of cosmetic issues. But people just think, oh, I'm spending so much money, it's brand new, everything should be absolutely great. And then I'm like, that's not how it works. That's not how life works. So I have to kind of bring them back to reality. And luckily, like working with a realtor like yourself or some of the other realtors I work with, sometimes realtors will jump in and kind of take it away from me, which I'm happy about. They'll be like, hey, that's more of a cosmetic issue. Ahmed is really focusing on like the important stuff, So the advice that I give, again, be very deliberate in what is important to you and what is something that should be addressed right away. Try to stay away from the little things, because some of these stuff you could probably YouTube videos and figure it out even on your own. I should even be telling people that, because God forbid they do something wrong and say, Ahmed told me to YouTube the video. But so like you said, you nailed it right on the head. You got to be very careful going into a home and what realistic expectations you have.
Right. So if someone was interested in reaching out to you, Ahmed, and they're buying a house for the very
Mhm.
first time, how can they get in contact with you? How can they schedule an appointment and do the home inspection?
Sure. The best way to reach me is obviously to call me. I put my direct cell. I'm on Google, got Google reviews, Yelp reviews. Everybody loves testimonials. Nobody goes to a restaurant anymore without looking at reviews, right? Same thing with a home inspection. You could go to my website. I'm also very big on Instagram and Facebook. I like to make educated posts. Whether you hire me or not, that's free stuff I put out just to market myself and just to educate people. So I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook. You could call me, my website, I'm on Google and Yelp. I mean, there's so many different ways. You could email me, of course. You could send a pigeon if you want. So I try to be as open to people as possible, and I get yelled at all the time, man. I'm always on my cell phone, unfortunately.
And what areas do you cover specifically? Is there like certain sections?
North and Central Jersey keep me very busy. I'm based in Jersey City, Bayonne. Because of how densely populated and because it's a hot market, those are probably my bread and butter. I've been to other towns in Central Jersey. I've even went as far as South Jersey, depending if I could handle it based on my time and my workload. So yeah, North and Central is usually my areas of home inspections.
And I'll make sure to put your information below as well, Ahmed. So if someone wants to reach out to you, they can contact you directly. Thank you. Thank you so much for everything you shared. I think that it's super important. Again, number one, to
One second, I can't hear you. Hold
you hear me
on.
now?
What happened? Can you hear?
I can hear
You
you.
can't hear me,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah.
Obviously I can't hear you. My video started stopped.
Well,
I
again,
mean, my sound stopped, I'm saying.
I'll put the information below, Ahmed. I appreciate your time. And
Okay, I can hear you now. Thank you.
yeah, so yeah, and so I appreciate your time, Ahmed. I think this is great. So much information. I like videos where we can inform people and educate people, like you mentioned, because there's purchasing a house is a big deal. It's a lot of money. you're investing, you're making one of the largest investments that you'll make. And it's important to educate yourself and get as much information as possible, make an educated decision, and connect yourself with the right professionals. So I'm sure anyone who is interested in
Mhm.
buying a house can reach out to you, and you can assist them with that process, Ahmed. So again, thank you so much for your time. Looking forward to continuing to work with you. And if anyone
Of course.
has any questions relating home inspection, I'll make sure again to put Ahmed's information below, and he'll be happy to help you out. Ahmed, thank
Yep.
you.
Thank you for having me. And this is officially my first Zoom call, so thank you for popping that, allowing me to do this.
More.
But thank you guys.
For sure.
Take care. Bye bye.